Mr. Incredible caused his own downfall, and arguably his descent into what he viewed as irrelevancy was his just desert, or an inevitable consequence of his own human nature, depending on how you look at it. Hear me out. He outrightly dismissed Buddy and saw him as just another fanboy, which he was technically, but if he gave Buddy the time of day and just acknowledged him as a human being who was trying to make the world a better place without obviously having him as a sidekick, he could have got gifted those rocket boots earlier on and literally been a superhero with both super strength and flight. Literally would have been Superman. Mr. Incredible didn't even remember Buddy's name, and it was clear that despite Buddy's best efforts, Buddy was nobody to Mr. Incredible. If he had those boots and been in the same place at the same time before the wedding, he could have saved the suicidal man without crushing him, and thus could have avoided the first lawsuit which brought him down. Sure enough, it's not Mr. Incredible's fault that Buddy was there to produce a distraction that allowed Bon Voyage to get away, but at the very least, if the train bomb still happened for some reason, Mr. Incredible would have gotten there faster and probably would have stopped the train in time to avoid the second lawsuit from the victims based on how the train thing played out. He could have even made his own wedding in time. Even when the crime scene ended, Mr. Incredible displayed zero interest in those rocket boots, even after seeing that they actually worked. Think about all the crimes that he could have stopped if he was able to fly around, but nope, Mr. Incredible had to do it his way. Mr. Incredible was blinded by arrogance and his own sense of self-importance, and just saw Buddy as some young stupid kid, and did not utilize what Buddy had to offer. Just the same way that big companies and organizations nowadays do not take young and very early stage innovators seriously, when those young and early stage innovators could damn well come bearing gifts. Mrs. Incredible said to Mr. Incredible at the altar that to make things work, he needed to be more than Mr. Incredible. And what did he need to do to be more than Mr. Incredible? Get over himself. That's it. And it's something we see him struggle with later on in the movie, always chasing the glory days, which he directly references himself. Calling his superhero days the glory days of all things speaks volumes. Also, after what were probably years of great superhero service, just a couple of inevitable mishappenings and bad outlooks that weren't even inherent to having superpowers destroyed the superhero public reputation, which is representative of classic human nature in being inherently apprehensive of what's outside the box and what's different. Both the public and Mr. Incredible were guilty of this small-minded outlook and ultimately rejected what was in their best interests. Years later, Mr. Incredible is feeling the exact same way that he made Buddy feel, dejected, deflated, and disillusioned, and as though their innate gifts were being wasted. This is even more hypocritical from Mr. Incredible, considering that he was really excited for Dash's superpowers blooming, and even encouraged bad behavior from Dash, yet outrightly dismissed Buddy's efforts to do good and his intellectual gifts and his literal gifts in the rocket boots, because Dash was his son and Buddy was just some random kid. Nepotism is textbook human nature. It's also very telling about people that Dash was literally caught on the camera using super speed to place the thumbtack on the teacher's desk, and the principal still did not believe it. When Buddy grows up, he becomes even more powerful than any of the superheroes with his technology, but ultimately succumbs to himself the same way Mr. Incredible does, except with far steeper consequences. Everything he planned was coming to fruition with his plan to win over the people, until he decided to get too cocky and allowed his unmet need for acceptance to get the better of him, and ultimately let the Omni Droid take advantage. All Buddy had to do was rein in for just a few seconds or so to fully defeat or disable the Omni Droid, then bask in adoration of the people. But no. And even after that, instead of just kidnapping Jack Jack, he stupidly decided to wait for the Incredibles to show up and just announce that he took Jack Jack instead of just doing it, because he just had to get recognition from his former idol. Not only that, but Syndrome was clearly intelligent enough to know better than to use capes, but probably wore one anyway because he wanted to be revered and worshipped by the people the same way the old superheroes were, or feel like the superhero he never got to be. All of these things ultimately culminated in his death. Mr. Incredible's drive to heroism was a mixture of a genuine drive to help people and self-gratification, whereas Buddy was just driven by a need for acceptance and revenge. Mr. Incredible lost years of superhero service because of his inability to overcome his own human nature, whereas Buddy lost his life because of his inability to overcome human nature. Both of them had what they wanted in the palms of their hands and they threw it out the window. So what's the message for all of this? Human nature obstructs what's in people's own best interests, and people throw away their own futures to meet their natural yet very petty needs in either self-gratification or the need for acceptance or some others.